We in this thing, man. Just got off of a live stream panel. Figured I'd go live and talk about what I found. It ain't nothing really explosive, but it's pretty interesting. There's some interesting things in here, as we will see. As we will see. Give the algorithm some time to get up here. If you hear the sound in the background, that's my Alfredo sauce. What's up, Empress? I'm just getting started. Did you see me over there did you see me on Leo's live stream, Leo Spell? I don't know if any of y'all see me on Leo Spell's live stream just a second ago. Oh, you missed it? It was, FBA, and Fadi was up there, and they were talking about reparations or something, and somebody said something about if the Indians have other claims, is they gonna kind of interfere or kind of confuse like our claims? And I was like in the chat, I just typed in patents. Our patent claims won't hurt your reparations claim. And so they saw it, even though it was a lot of people typing. They saw it and they started going off on it. So I was like, all right, let me up. I just started baiting them. I was like, oh, y'all emotional. So they let me up. I show you, and they let me up, and I didn't even go hard. I just pulled up my land patent because somebody was saying that land patents didn't even exist or were all burnt. And then I pulled mine up, and then I pulled up the video clip that somebody did. Well, it's not on here. I pulled up the video clip that somebody came on my live stream and showed me they got their paperwork. They got their land back. One of our Seminole homeboys got his land back, 2,000 acres. So really, I just showed him that. I didn't argue with nobody. Kind of kept it cordial, hit him with the facts real hard and let everybody be like, all right, well, I guess you kind of cool. They tried to grill me for a second, but it wasn't nothing too crazy. They was taking them little side jabs. Y'all know people be taking them little jabs, but I put it all to the side. They like, oh, that's so stupid, patents. Y'all are some agents. I got called agents, and I'm an agent, and all this other stuff. And then now when I was in the chat, I was like, I ain't no damn agent. You know what I'm saying? But at some point, they let me up. Because y'all can't just be late. They gonna label everybody as an agent. But it is what it is. But we're going to talk about what I found. I know it's not a whole lot, I'm just kind of getting going. A lot of people in here, but I'm going to talk about what I was doing today and how kind of cool it is. So I found letters, like handwritten letters, literally from 1824. Like these motherfuckers literally have dates on them hoes. Let's see. 1830, you know what I'm saying? I was like, dang, this motherfucker old, right? And there's 532 images in here. So I was like, okay. I done went through 100 of them so far, literally translating them or transcribing them with ChatGPT. So I done literally went through and read these letters. Now, if you want to talk about something that's kind of cool, it's reading letters, especially when they're in a chronological order, and especially when they're talking about events that really happened. What's up, Make It Make Sense? What's up, everybody? Everybody coming up in. Appreciate you coming up in here. What's up, Pistol? What's up, Julian? What's up, everybody? So yeah. So what is really interesting, like, look at this letter, dated in I think that's it's either 27. I think that's 27, 1827. And these are letters in the Library of Congress. You know what I'm saying? 1827. And you know what's interesting? Is they're from Indian agents. Now, who knows what an Indian agent is? Yep, 1828. 1828. What better way to get into the mind of an Indian agent from back then than to read their actual letters, right? What up, Crew Rot? What better way to get into the mind of an Indian agent than to actually read their letters about what was going on at the time? So I've been on this like tough. And then to show you the importance of it, I think I saved it. So there was a treaty done. We're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to the whole thing, but I'll give you kind of an overview. There was a treaty done during this time in these letters, and it's called the Treaty of Pierre du something. And this is it right here. What is it called? A Treaty of. I'm gonna have to pull it back up. Hell, I guess I didn't get the first page. It might be in here. They paying them out. Indians agency, cause we gonna go in here because they even talk about taking some chiefs in, possibly getting rid of the chiefs, and how it's gonna affect the people if they get rid of these chiefs. Like, no, this is going to be a little interesting little story. And if I can find... What the hell was that? Treaty... Hold on, I got you. Treaty of Prairie du Chien. Sure, well, here we go. The Treaty of Prairie du Chien or whatever. And if you go, where did I get to it? I think it was here in the National Archives.gov. And this is a treaty done in Chicago. Before Chicago was like incorporated into a city, it was still called Chicago. And this was done between like the Potawatami Indians and the Winnebagos, things of that nature. So here's some of the treaties. You'll see down here. There's the Treaty of Pierre du Chien, whatever. All right, and so you can go in here and you can actually read it, or it has a transcription. So I read through it. And I came up with it. There's a couple of little passages that I took a little screenshot of that might be a little interesting. What's up, everybody coming up in here that I might have missed? Let me see who all up in the house. That I haven't said what's up to. I think I said what's up to make it make sense. What's up there, Epiphany? What's happening, Love Always? Crew out, what up? K Blessings. Nikki, what's happening? Good to see you. Excuse me. Foundational Lioness, good to see you. Star and Shay, all y'all. Good to see all y'all. All right. Appreciate the gifts as well, y'all. So for those just now coming in, I was just kind of going over a quick overview. We're going to get into it. But what I noticed when I went through reading, I'm going to finish this and then I'll tell y'all what I was going to say. But what I noticed is when I was reading through this treaty, is these are the names of the people who signed the treaty. Now, notice you have Alex Walcott. I had already been reading that name, which is funny. His Walcott is on these letters. Watch. Mr. Alex Walcott Jr., the Indian agent. I said, wow, wait a minute. What's up, Akila? I said, so wait a minute. You mean to tell me I'm reading the handwritten letters of a dude that was an Indian agent around during the signing of the treaty in 1829. And see, this is why you fuck with your boy. And I sat here and read 100 pages so far. And this is why you should fuck with your boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, our the and that's I was gonna say this on the panel earlier. I was on somebody's panel, FBA panel, but I didn't want to start no stuff. But I was gonna say, look, man, the Indian community's research is unmatched. You know what I mean? Y'all, like, cause like, okay, they had a guy over there, Dr. Allen. He came over there and he started talking about how 41,000 people, Alabamians moved, or people moved to Alabama in 1920 or in 1820, or during the 1820 time, and then and he was just talking about the strength of how these people moved there. And in my head, I really wanted to just sit there and be like, man, that's really reclassification. You know what I'm saying? That's really some Indians that was reclassified. They didn't move. You can't really make that. I had to leave the topic alone. You know what I'm saying? And then another person said something about how we be saying stuff about white people being, in slavery and things of that nature, and they talking about we agents because we be saying talking points like that. And so I literally after I showed them the stuff about the land patents, I had this up right here, which is from the Library of Congress: white slavery or selling white men for debt. But I eventually just closed it out, and I was like, you know what, I ain't even gonna get into the topics because. Let me just leave it at the patents right now, because they accepting this information, and I'm going to just slide out and leave it at that. But I say that to say our research in our community is unmatched with any others, man. And shout out to all y'all. Shout out to us, man. We out here learning, picking up the game, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure these stories out. So, okay, now I'm gonna go through some of these letters. So again, these are letters that I found, Chicago agency, and I was reading. How did I get on this? I don't even know how I got on this topic, to be honest, because I was thinking about looking up stuff for slavery today, and I was actually going to read this article in the Stanford EDU about slavery and citing sources on certain law cases in slavery to try to figure out more about that. Didn't really get around to that today, but I'm definitely going to get around to it here soon, maybe tomorrow. But my thing is still trying to figure out what all is the law. What all were the laws at the time, this, that, and the third. But I don't know how the hell I done veered all to this topic. And I found some and I started searching it. You know what? I knew I wanted to try to figure out how could I get to this location. I can't remember what took me to this page, though. Native American urban relocation. I can't remember. Whatever. That's just my little story. Okay, so we're gonna get into it. So I went there and I searched Chicago Field Employee Assistance. I searched Chicago Field Employee Assistance, and in the National Archive records. And to be honest, it's got 1,600 or whatever. After I had to like filter through those the Bureau of Indian Affairs section. Because before that, they had a bunch of them. But now I just got Bureau of Indian Affairs, Chicago Agency, whatever, right? And so this is supposed to be dealing with, it depends on the time, but some of this stuff is 1900, some of the stuff is 1800. I could just whittle it down to the 1800s. But long story short, that's kind of how I found these letters. And these letters are from 1824 to 1847. Now, all I saw was Chicago agency letters. I figured it had to do something with the Indians, but I wasn't sure. So then I started reading. So let's pull up some of these letters. And we'll go down a little rabbit hole like I did, okay? So that's the letter for here. And notice how you have here the Secretary of War, okay? I just want that to be, that's going to be a theme throughout here, because people have said, and I don't know if y'all know, but people have said that the BIA, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, used to be the War Department, right? That is what the War Department turned into. So then you got to ask question, why is the War Department the Indian Affairs? Well, now that I'm reading through these letters, I even more so wonder why it got changed over. Other than the fact that I know why, it's a corrupt agency here to assimilate us and make us forget who we are and be the middleman to keep us out of our shit, right? But on top of that, as we go through this, you'll realize these Indian agents who we're reading their letters back and forth and through them and trying, and also they're gonna be going back and forth with like either Washington or whatever, like the federal government in many times, and we're gonna get to see like from their standpoint, what was they doing? What was their hand? What hand was they playing? Like if you're playing a horrible hand in this at this point in time, if you're doing horrible things, how come you're the one that's in charge of the Indian affairs when there should be a body of people who are not like y'all, who are maybe like not biased or not controlling or don't have a past, right, that could be over the Indian affairs? That just doesn't make any kind of sense. But okay, let's read some of these letters, right? Give us a little backdrop there. All right, so yeah, I ain't got a shirt on still. Okay. Potawatamis are evidently uneasy, waiting for information from the Mississippi. I shall hold a council with their chiefs this evening, and I shall insist upon them their securing the peace of their own country. They must prevent the Winnebagos from entering their country, and for this we must hold them responsible. I have not time to write more in detail, but I shall request Dr. Walcott. Dr. Walcott is the Indian agent, right? He says, Dr. Walcott, the Indian agent. Dr. Walcott is the Indian agent that signed the treaty, right, of 1827 with these fools. Not with these fools, the Indians. They the fools, but okay. Here to communicate to you the result of the council in such information generally with relation to the situation of the country as it may be important for the government to receive. Implicit reliance may be placed upon all the communication, all who he may communicate. So what he's saying here basically is, it's like they're trying to tell the Potawatomis that y'all need to keep the Winnebagos out. Okay, that's what I want you to get. And why? And I was wondering, like, this is literally like one of the first ones I'm reading. I'm like, why is this person trying to say that the Potawatomis need to keep the Winnebagos out? Okay, I was like, okay, let's keep reading let's read the next letter. Go down here. Or the second part of this letter, or whatever it is. Let's see. Or it might have just been the second letter, a piece of a letter. I thought that was important. At some point, I realized these were in chronological order, and I started getting them mostly in importance, but at least started getting the whole letters. But hold up. It says, him by having accepted appointment in a short time of the report for our mutual benefit, the Honorable Messrs. McKee and Bond, and you will each receive the like information. Appreciate that. It says, will you be so obliging as to let me know particularly the post office from which you address your communication? Now, I'm going to sit here and first say this. These post offices mean something. You need a post office in a town in order for it to be incorporated, from what I believe, or either that or to have a relationship with the federal government. One of the two. You may not need one to incorporate, but something about you need a post office in a town that I remember looking up before you can do X, Y, or Z, moving to some next level. Maybe before you can make a city or something, whatever. But here you got to talking about post office. But then I start thinking about trading posts, because here later they're gonna be talking about these posts and guarding these posts, like these post offices. And it's like, what was the post offices before these niggas started sending out mail? And we're gonna get further into it. We're gonna see. So you see what I'm saying? What in the years they said post office is the highest bank. Now see, I also heard that the Postmaster General, and this is from some like old school, and I ain't look, I probably ain't even gonna quote it right. Some old school YT, like deep level Masonic, like those stuff that I was learning about, like language and like some. It was called. He called it. The video was called not language semantics. Shit, I wish I could remember because I could pull it right up if I could remember the word. But regardless, I could see the dude in my head too, and I think I might have it saved. But they say you said it was an army post at first. See, I can believe that. Like these posts have it's like you started off as an army post, you secure the area, and then from that point you incorporate or you settle or you whatever. But he was talking about how these post offices like. Man, I can't even remember, man, because it's like they're tied to like into like some. I don't know, man. I don't even want to say the certain words I'm about to say. Let me just not before they hit a nigga with some misinformation bullshit. He said the postmaster is still the highest authority nationally. See, that's something like that I heard, and it makes you wonder why the postmaster. Why the postmaster? The nigga that's over the mail. That's why you got to think it's something more than just mail going on. It's something more than just mail. Stamps are how you take care of that. Dang, I never thought how they call them food stamps. What does that mean? Alita cereal is salute to you, the SD cast and American Indian house. What up, Smoke John? Mike P. Pax, what's happening, y'all? Yeah. So yeah, like look, I'm gonna have to look a lot more back into it. I'm gonna try to find that old school video that I watched back in them days and see if I can make some sense of it to y'all. But okay, let me get back into here. So it says, will you be so obliging as to let me know particularly the post office from which you address your communication? To Mr. Walcott, I am desirous for the most minute and accurate examination of my post office directory that there is no post office at near Chicago, and also inform me of what movements and when my services will be required and how to. So basically, this dude's pretty much getting a new position. But this is I think I took this because this is the first time I realized I was like Secretary at War, and we're reading Indian agent papers. So those for just coming in, let me just give a quick brief for those that are just coming in. We are looking at the National Archive Records, Chicago Agency, handwritten letters between 1824 to 1847. These handwritten letters are from Indian agents during the time. And why are those Indian agents important? Well, just like I was showing them, here is the Treaty of Pierre du Chien, or whatever, however you pronounce it. And these are the people who signed the treaty. There's signatures over here, but this is the transcription. Now you'll see Alex Walcott, and some of these other names end up in here too. But it says he's an Indian agent. Well, like I was showing people earlier, I said, oh, ain't that a bitch? Because that's some of the people whose letters I've been reading. Mr. Walcott, your very obedient servant. Look at that. Your very obedient servant. You'll see that in the newspapers. I mean, in the letters written out. Alex Walcott Jr., the Indian agent. If there's agents, they're acting as someone else in different capacity. Yeah, just like I think of it almost like Men in Black agents on a 1827 level. But so we are literally reading handwritten letters between Indian agents, and we know that they're corrupt, right? We know the agents are corrupt. That's why I kept reading, and that's why I'm going to keep reading until I read all 500 of them, and then I'm going to figure out if I can find any other Indian agent papers, especially those within my tribe, because I almost stopped reading it, so I was like, well, shit, let me go find something for the Shatas, but I like, you know what? Let me continue through with this story. Let me just, whatever reason I was led to this, and I the reason why I didn't want to continue at first is because I've done zero history. or got any information about the Potawatomis, Winnebagos, and a couple of other ones that they talk about in here. So I didn't want it to all go over my head, and I'm just kind of doing this, reading this shit for no reason. But this actually gets pretty interesting. So let's keep going. It says, yes, please find the shots. Yeah, I'm gonna try to find Indian agents that was around us. That shit would be dope, especially since I know quite a bit of the history, and I don't know it all. That said these were natives who turned on their own people in. I think some of them possibly. I think some of them could be just straight white folks, settlers coming in, but they do. Some of them do because they're gonna talk about the intermixing too, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, we're gonna get into some of this stuff, man. This is pretty interesting stuff, and I'm gonna say like this. Look, man, what other organizations out there besides the Indian community is reading archived letters from 1820 something from Indian agents who signed goddamn treaties? Nigga, I'm sitting here reading this shit. What up, Fadi? I'm sitting here reading this shit. I was gonna say that to Fadi, like, man, our level of research is unmatched to everybody. I was gonna say there was so much shit I could have said up on that panel. Fadi was up there. I had to get up there too. Well, I didn't have to. They requested I came up after a moment after I said what I said in the chat. But like, I was gonna say this too. I was gonna say, look, y'all. I was gonna show them, look, y'all. And none of y'all is on my level, man. I was gonna be like, yeah, I've been reading. I read 100 letters. I read 100 letters from Indian agents from 1827 in the National Archive records today while I sat here blowing trees all day. Our level of historic research is unmatched. The whole time smoking, right? And they said talking points up there that I really wanted to shut down, like the whole thing where people you check John with Lane yet? No, that don't ring a bell. I don't think so. Yeah. So like, I checked. I wanted to check on like that one talking point. Somebody said that Dr. Allen, he was saying that or Professor Allen, he was saying that just 40,000 people moved to Alabama out of nowhere, and I was like, oh man, you have no idea how much you hitting on something I done like drove in so much. Give me a second, Father. Let me hook this in, and I'm gonna let you up here. I gotta rig my little old phone up. It's an old phone. It ain't like a crazy old phone. It's just an older iPhone that the motherfucking speaker don't work on that bitch. Hold on 1 second. And instead of getting the speaker fixed, we do just like niggas do and get another iPhone. That's exactly what we do. Oh shit. What's up,
Hey,
buddy?
I look, it's a lot I wanted to say, not in a disrespectful way at all, because I love them. I love both sides, but it just I had to gather myself together because it was irritating me, but I understood where it was coming from at the same time. And my thing is that why is there such pushback on the American Indians also pushing for us to have our own classification, even if they don't align with the name for the classification? It still gets the job done either way. Even when it comes to a reparation, restitution, whatever you want to call it, it's like if both sides tackle the same issue, as long as one of the sides, succeed, we all win at the end of the day. Why does it have to be, just one and only one? No, I feel like we need multiple, because if yours don't work, the next ones might work. Like I don't get why it's like if it's two different ones, it's going to mess up this movement. And for me, and I wanted to say it, but I had lost my train of thought, and then I had got dropped before I could say it when I was waiting for my turn, was the whole thing of we also have to be honest. As much as all of us would want our people to get our reparations and restoration or whatever, the way, not the way that it's been done before under this same, classification, all that stuff has failed. So we want to make sure it's done in a way where it can succeed. So I agree with you 100% when you mention land pass, because that was one of the things where y'all stole that from us. Y'all have to pay us back for that and give us the land back. You could do two things at one time. But I knew that would have pissed people off if I would have said that. And I don't want it to be more arguing between both sides.
No, real talk. Like, like all I did was put in the chat was our patent claims aren't gonna hurt your reparations, and that's when the chat's going fast. I didn't think they was gonna see it, but boy, he honed in and started talking shit, and I'm just like, since that kind of stuff like that, y'all the one that gave hella pushback and all kind of denigration, calling me an agent and all this other stuff for a simple phrase. I didn't say y'all niggas stupid as hell about y'all don't know about their past. I didn't say nothing crazy. I didn't, you know what I'm saying. So even when I got up there, they were still like talking about this agent behavior, this and that, and I'm just like, I was sitting here like, man, I can go so many ways with this. Y'all know I be clowning niggas like crazy. But I was like, I'm gonna ignore the jabs. I'm gonna stick to this motherfucking patent because I already knew I had something that was gonna make them shut the fuck up about the patent shit. Like, how you gonna deny this man on this motherfucking video with his paperwork saying he got 2,000 acres with stamps on him and signatures on that bitch from the government? You really can't. And then also, I knew how to explain it because the next thing they would have said was, oh, well, what does that mean? But I knew exactly what to say to make it make sense. No, it depends on where my patch of land is. I could be the landlord over a major complex, over a major commercial zone that's I can now give money off of. That's perpetual generational wealth. Literally, that's generational wealth. You get rent off of, or in a sense, rent or some kind of tax or whatever. Sorry, lease. You'd be leasing the land, but lease off of people, and you'll be able to pass the money off of that down to your generation forever, literally forever with that patent. So reparations, although yeah, you can spend it, and I ain't trying to say oh people are gonna spend. I don't like that talking point. Like if you give us enough money, we'll do something good with it. Most of us, but still the land thing, it's a lot more to it than just getting a little random patch.
And even when they, the 40 acres and a mule thing comes up, it's like I said, I be trying to not, I don't never want nobody to feel like I'm being negative or trying to rain on their parade. But, when they made the comment like, oh, if we're going off the land pan, that's what we focus on, or the genealogy. We've been doing that. We keep telling y'all to look into y'all genealogy for a reason, because you'll find land records, historical records, court records. It's a whole bunch of records that you'll find by doing your genealogy, including realizing, mind you, that's something I've learned just doing research on history, as well, is that the 40 acres and the mule thing is not legal. It was just something somebody said to them, making a promise to them on behalf of the president, and the president or whoever was in charge at that time didn't even greenlight it. It's nowhere written down legally that they were promised 40 acres and a mule, and they don't realize that. But the ones who did get it in legal writing was the Indians. That's what they don't realize. And people say, oh, 48 mules was a myth. It didn't exist. It did exist. It's just people don't realize of how they get it misconstrued of who legally has the documented proof of the rights to it and who doesn't, under the umbrella of, oh, I'm just a descendant of a freedman. Well, which freedman? Because mind you, everybody who looked like us was classified as a freedman. Everybody who was a former slave was classified as a freedman as well. And that's something that I don't know if you posted the book or if this other guy posted it. One of y'all did, where it was showing the numbers, like they was talking about slavery and throughout the whole Americas, and they were specifically talking about Mexico, but they still touched on all of the Americas, and the census estimates and record, the first census of 1790 and all this other stuff. And in the book, it was basically saying that it was a total in 1790 of approximately like 10 million slaves approximately. It could be more or less, but that was just the estimate. I don't know if it was 100% fact. And they were saying out of that 10 million, 7 million were indigenous, 3 million was supposedly Negroes. And by the time we got to 1860, everybody was classified as a freedman. It didn't determine who was Indian, who's what. Everybody was a freedman at that point.
What up, Darby?
And
Yeah, keep on.
oh, hey, Darvit. But I'm just saying the whole thing was is that when it came to the 40 acres of the mule specifically, it was not written into law for the regular freedmen. It was written into law for the American Indians and the freedmen of American Indians.
Yeah, and
They
to
were the
be
only ones
honest,
that had.
yeah, and to be honest with you, like, and I need to do a little bit more digging just to make sure. But I remember doing quite a bit of digging. But I was like, I don't see no other person having freedmen paperwork except for the Indians. I see Freeman language in the treaties in 1866 only, which is some bullshit to be honest. But I see it in the treaties. I see it in the Dawes Rolls. I see it on our cards. I see it in a little bit of legislation. I do see a Freedman paper that came out, newspaper that came out at some point that was like addressing black folks as freedmen, but that that was just a newspaper article, a newspaper or whatever, or the Freedmen's paper or something like that. And then you got the Freedmen's Bureau. So I guess people like assume that since all black people went to the Freedmen's Bureau that it was just black people. But the freedmen's who got freedmen status that I keep seeing are Indians. Like I can't find like anybody that's got paperwork, a license or anything. I really every time I googled it, I couldn't find it. So if they go and on top of that, the freedman status really messed us up. That really reclassified us for real. That was the final straw in getting us out of the tribes, and as far as making us a different type of person, it was like we were part of the tribes the whole time, obviously, and all of a sudden when they done intermarried into a little bit and then brought in some of these other ones, and now they got enough folks to call us the fakes and call us the this on paper. Now it's like it was a whole trick bag. Same thing with the Seminoles. That's what I was gonna show them. Like when the Seminoles accepted their freedman status, that not that they really accepted it, they put them down on the rolls as a freedman. It ain't like they went in there knowing that hey, sign me up to be a freedman. They were just like, hey, I'm supposed to get my land. I'm here at the Dawes Rolls, and they did a little whatever, and then you go on about your day, and next thing you know, you down as a freedman on paper. And you just was there to get your little allotment and move on about your day, but you don't know the kind of trickery that somebody done put down a slave master for your name, but the slave master name shows the chief of the tribe. But they still utilize that later to not give them part of the $54 million they came. So if I can point to a case where people use freedmen against them to where they wouldn't get the $54 million, why would I want to use that shit again today?
That's the thing that I found about the 40 acres and a mule is that reclassification literally snatched away the land from our people who still were classified as Indians. Basically, the whole thing was to they had too much land. They said, "Hey, we'll buy majority of the land from y'all, and we'll make sure a certain amount of land is still off limits, to the settlers. But you have to divvy that land up to where 40 acres goes for each household within your family because the tribes were giant families." And basically, what I found is that they made laws about it, like what the video you showed on the panel where it was talking about the dude was talking about the inalienable lands, which he was telling 100% truth. It was a law about that saying that the lands could not be alienable, meaning seized by the United States, except they wrote a law in 1904. It was saying except or 1906, sorry, 1904, 1906. I gotta go on my computer and see which year it was. But Congress made a law saying that it went hand in hand with the whole Indian by blood BS. They did all of this. All of it was in cahoots. They did the Dawes Rolls during that time, and then once the Dawes Rolls Commission was done away with, originally, as far as when they first was doing it, it took them like 10 years to do it. So once that was done away with, as soon as that was over, the next year or year and a half later, Congress got together, made a law saying, oh, the Dawes Commission determines whether or not you're an Indian by blood. And then they also made another law saying anybody who was not determined to be an Indian by blood, all of their lands are no longer inalienable, and they whatever was promised, whatever allotments they were supposed to get by the government, whatever 40 acres, they're not getting it no more. They're not getting anything. Like whatever promise was made, they're not getting none of that anymore because they're now a freedman. You're not an Indian by blood.
And that's real, and it makes sense because that slave codes that came out in 1860 said that if you claim to be an African from and your people got here from Africa or whatever, literally said we was reading the other day that you can't be a citizen, which means you can't sue for anything, you can't do a lot of stuff. So if you're not a citizen, well, yeah, you can't share in that money that the United States is giving to the tribe. You're not a citizen. The United States was paying assimilated Indians who were citizens, not Africans who came over here on boats. And that's where I see where the trickery is at, where they don't get it. And I feel like Simon is trying hard to put that Freeman in there, and that's what made me think he an agent. Like why are you trying so hard with just that phrase? Like, have you ever done enough research on that phrase? Like, I literally have freedman paperwork all in my shit, and I don't be talking about I want to be a freedman. I'm like, really? That's not a Chickasaw freedman. That's a Chickasaw. That's not a Choctaw freedman. That's a Choctaw, and that's how I feel about it. So that's what makes me think about him. But you know what, Amara, well, I had to give her credit. She was really kind of pressing him, at least on that particular situation, because she was like, "Sounds like this might be a little bit more ego driven. Like you done started this thing, and it's like you ain't done enough research." And that's what I really see. He ain't done enough research. He started this thing. He wants to be Negro, Black American, freeman, blah blah blah, and he don't want nobody to knock him off their square, and that's unfortunate.
I agree 100%. It's also, I think, because of certain things that was said to him by the American Indians, where he's still mad. He still got a chip on his shoulder about stuff that was, disrespectful things that was said, and ever since then he just, I don't know, he need prayer. But it what I was saying though, it does go along with the Seminoles as well. But that's why I be like, instead of both sides, disrespecting each other, why not just educate each other and understand each other so we can work together to achieve the goal? Like, it doesn't make sense to work against each other because the FBAs do have good points that they make. Like, there's certain things where they be speaking 100% facts when it comes to certain things legally and of our history. And then there's things that we be telling them, like, hey, we're right as well. We're telling the truth on certain things. Both go hand in hand and they can work together for the greater good. But people don't want to let go of semantics and titles and childish things. It's like church. It's like people be ego tripping the moment they get a title, instead of just realizing you're all still people on the same level. Like, your title doesn't make you more or less than the person next to you.
Exactly, exactly. And I hear you down there too, Engine. He said he all right. And I will say, yeah, like I ain't going off on him too bad. I'm a stand on that whole Freeman thing, but like that was what me and him went back and forth, because everybody always starts off pretty harsh when you give them a little truth, and they not listening, and then next thing you know, he ended up apologizing at one point. And so, most people don't apologize, man. So I ain't gonna be too hard on him, but he gonna have to look more into that Freeman shit. Either way, man, because yeah, that ain't gonna work for us. I mean, they can stick to it, but I think if they go in with that Freeman thing, trying to get reparations, I don't know. Man. Hey, they can stick to that if they want to. But yeah, man. Well, I'm gonna just you can stick up here if you want to, fighter. You can jump down. I'm gonna get on into these letters, and but no, I'm glad I got to go up there with you and be with you on that panel, and I'm glad you be in panels like that. I really do like that you try to go in and express uh, our sides as much as possible. I do see you do that a lot, and people don't understand the importance of people like that. Like I think of it like right now we looking at Indian spies, Indian agents that's playing an agent bitch ass role on trying to get in with the Indians and trying to spy on folks, but we ain't on that. We rather try to get in with you, be in front of your face, and try to talk to you and see if we can make something happen with you. See if we can work this out with you. See what's happening with you. And there's people that play that role. There's people that play the extremist role, and I'm cool with that too, because the extremists draw in a lot of us. If a person get cussed out by an African and they come across a goddamn extremist page, they gonna be like, hell yeah, they might be invigorated. Like, yeah, that motherfucker going off, man. Yeah, y'all need to do my genealogy. I want to be like these folks. So it's a whole lot of parts to play, and then. So yeah, I appreciate you.
I can show you. I mean, you can go ahead and start showing the people. Because I'm gonna pull it up real quick to show you what I was talking about with the laws that they did. One of the ones that been able to find the record of was from the Seminoles when it came to the 40 acres.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's what's up. If you want to pull that up, yeah. Yeah, and while she's doing that, yeah, it just is a lot of importance on these patents and these processes. And the more that I read into these letters, documents, files, books, whatever the hell I be reading into every day, as I'm gassed up. But as I do it, the more things I start to uncover, the types of corruption, the lies on many sides, um, like lies about battles, lies about how many people unalived in certain battles, or lies about this or that, whatever. It's really just amazing, the amount of corruption. But that's why what y'all said. That's why they call it history. You know what I'm saying? That's his story, and we uncovering and finding our story within these little lies as we do that. And like I was showing while she's doing that, like I was showing folks what I'm doing is I'm going through actual agency, uh, Indian agency letters from 1827 to 1824 to 1847. And during this time, a treaty was signed as well between the Wampanoags, not the Wampanoags, I'm sorry, the Winnebagos, the Potawatomis, and some other ones. Those were the main two they were talking about a lot during this time because when we go through here, we'll find that the Potawatomi, like you had the Potawatomis on in this area, in a certain area of land. You had the Winnebagos, like in a certain area. You had a lot of the white folks apparently, or the settlers. I don't want to say white folks, the settlers in a certain area. Now the Winnebagos was like I think in between the Potawatomis and the settlers, and so I guess the Potawatomis were plotting on the settlers. You know what I'm saying? And the settlers, with they scared ass, first tried to see if they can get the Potawatomis to or the Winnebagos to be on their side and be like, hey man, y'all can help us out, you know what I'm saying? Be a buffer. You need to, secure your place type thing. And then next thing you know, they really kind of don't. They start to side with the Potawatomis. And next thing you know, they started really like turning up, saying they gonna turn up on your ass. And then eventually they said we might need to we might need to draw up a treaty. So I was like, wait a minute. Did no battle didn't take place? You know what I'm saying? Before y'all drew up this treaty, but there was some time in between the signing of the treaty and the letters versus the times that they talked about it. So I'm gonna have to do a little research to see if there was something that happened during that time period that I just didn't. They didn't have no letters for or something. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a battle happened and I didn't. They didn't have any letters, or maybe they got rid of those letters. Um, but either way, during this thing, you get these treaties signed. It looks like they just signed a treaty because they was some scared little bitches, and the Potawatomis and the Winnebagos was about to turn up on their ass. But at the same time, they ended up ceding some land. So I don't know. It's hard. It's kind of hard to say. But even though they ceded the land, they got paid for it. You know what I'm saying? So, and they also have in their treaty. they have set a perpetual payment, and that's one thing I'm starting to notice with some of these treaties, which you know makes me think a lot of things, to be honest. Because let's see here, the Indians the sum of $16,000 annually, forever in specie. And when I looked up what specie meant, it meant in coin anything. Let me see, what did it say? It says it means money in the form of coins rather than notes. Yeah, yeah. So in their treaty, they was like, nigga, I need $16,000 a year, nigga, coins. Don't bring me none of that paper shit that we used to today. What's up, everybody down there? I know I missed some folks. My bad. I missed some folks. Let me say my little what's ups. I saw somebody up there earlier that was like, "What up, G? What is it? Who was that?" If he's still in here. Blaze on us one on the track. Yeah, what's up, Blaze one on the track? What's up, E6? Amore, thank you for so much. You've been commenting back. On code, what's happening with you? Right, we can't afford to get against each other. Just chew the meat. Yeah, exactly. And we trying to, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to be if I go on the FBA's panel, I'm trying to put certain things aside. I'll take a few jabs until I'll take a few, but I don't jab too many times. You know? Say what time period? Okay, let me go through this. Okay, let me and whenever you want to chime in, Fatty, just let me know. I'm gonna keep going on with this here. Let me change this so they can see this better.
Okay. So just let me know when I'm ready.
Oh, you got it. I'll throw you up there. Yeah, and I'll get back to these letters with the folks.
All right. I promise I'm gonna be real quick. Okay. So this is one of the, let me go to the top of this real quick, because I'm not about to read this whole thing, but this is one of these books from when they was doing the Dawes Rolls. And this book was, all of them aren't available online, but you'll find a few that's been, you can read it online. A lot of them are obviously with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, so you won't have access to them. But some of them you can read them online. In this one specifically, it talked about how basically right here it says, in reporting upon the work of the Commission of the Five Civilized Tribes, otherwise designated as the Dawes Commission, for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 1904, we desire, before going into details, to state a few general features. So in here they talk about the Indian Appropriation Act of 1904. There was granted for the prosecution of the work of the commission during the fiscal year ending June 30th, 1905, $265,000. This sum was recommended by the commission as sufficient to substantially complete within the time specified the work committed in its charge. Yeah, right here is the part. Basically, it says the commission to complete the work within the fiscal year named, and provides that the commission shall cease to exist at the end of the fiscal year. So, like I said, the Dawes Commission had 10 years. They started in, I think, 1893, and this was an extra year they was given. This was the last year that they was supposed to do what they was doing as far as going through everything and the lands and the people and all the other stuff, turn in the information, and then they were supposed to do away with the Dawes Commission. That was the end of the Dawes Commission. But this is the one of the seminal laws. I should have. Yeah. So this is one of the laws I found where it talks about, for the Seminoles specifically. Down here it talks about what the allottees will get and everything like that. And mind you, the Seminoles was mostly our people and not the imposters or $5 or those who intermarried that wasn't our people. And it says at the bottom of this section of it, each Alati shall designate one tract of 40 acres, so y'all can follow where I'm going, 40 acres, which shall by the terms of the deed be made inalienable and taxable as a homestead in perpetuity. This was promised to the Seminole in writing
Ah, wow.
on paper. Like, when they say,
Plain
oh, it
as day,
wasn't,
right there. Wow.
plain as day. They were promised the 40 acres. The whole thing was in the other book here. I think it's this one because I have a couple of them. Talks about how they actually had more acres, but they wanted them to, the 40 acres wasn't them giving them land and saying, hey, we want you to downsize your land where each family, so like me, my husband, my kids gets 40 acres, my brother and their kids, 40 acres, my next brother and their kids, 40 acres, my parents, 40 acres, because we're all family. So instead of us just having all of this insurmountable land, let's break it down and make your lands that you own for each of your families smaller, and we'll take the giant portion that's left that y'all not using. That was the original purpose of the 40 acres. And then on this site here, this is something I found called Thorpe's Law, but it's other websites you can go to read all this. So it breaks down all the different laws that happened. The original law, like I said, for the Seminoles in 1896 was all contracts for sale, disposition, or encumbrance for any part of any allotment made. Oh shoot, is my laptop about to die? Hold on, let me put the charger in. It takes 2 seconds. My bad. I'm almost done, y'all. Okay. For any, what did I stop at? Encumbrance of any part of any allotment made prior to the date of patent shall be void. Each allotee shall designate one tract of 40 acres, which shall by the term of the deed be inalienable and non-taxable in perpetuity. Like I said, still coinciding with the other thing I showed you with the law. They were promised the 40 acres. They have it in writing. The proof is in the pudding. Then you go down to the Act of 1904 that the book was talking about, the whole part of what the whole Dawes Commission was supposed to do. And the Act of 1904, which is applicable to all of the 5 civilized tribes, says, and all of the restrictions upon alienation of lands of all of the allottees of either of the 5 civilized tribes of Indians who are not of Indian blood, which is why they did the Dawes Roll, so they can determine who they want to be Indian and who's not, through all the states. Except minors, which that was BS as well, because further down they're going to make other laws about the minors saying as soon as they become adults, they fall under this law too. Or except as to homesteads are hereby removed, and all restrictions upon the alienation of all other of said tribes. Hold on, I'm sorry, y'all. I got a call.
No, you're fine. And for me, I'm gonna let you up, Tracy, here, spit for a second. But for me, it's that inalienable land that they said that term inalienable, which really gets to me because it's like I never really thought about what inalienable. Like you hear, like, oh, you got inalienable rights, but it wasn't until old dude said his land was inalienable. And I was like, oh, that means can't no aliens be on it. Oh, that means nobody can be on it besides y'all. Okay, okay, that makes a lot more sense. No, you're fine, fine. I'll let you go.
Alienable also meant that it can't be seceded by a person or a corporation or entity, basically. It can't.
But they go around seeding the land. That's they can't do that. Okay.
Yeah, it was to protect their lands. Originally, saying it was inalienable means it was protected, but the law of 1904 basically was saying that that was no more. That it basically was saying whatever they told them beforehand during the late 1890s we're doing away with that. Now your lands are no longer safe if you are not an Indian by blood, which was the whole freedmen thing. That was the whole reason why we were made freedmen, because at that point we're not considered an Indian by blood. So the lands that we held could be taken by the United States, allegedly, according to these these laws or whatever that they made, and then further down they sealed it by doing the Act of 1906, where it said, for all purposes, the quantum of Indian blood possessed by any member of said tribe shall be determined by the rolls of citizens of said tribe, approved by the Secretary of the Interior. It may be contended that inasmuch as the rolls of citizens of the Seminole Nation do not show the allottee and her heirs to be of Indian blood, that the fact cannot be otherwise shown, and are therefore persons not of Indian blood within the meaning of the provision of the Act of April 21st, 1904. And then they go further on to talk about how the people who's under the term adopted, which you still was an Indian, you just was an Indian from a different tribe and adopted into that tribe. It says, while indicating that citizenship was not acquired by virtue of birth, does not necessarily establish the fact of no Indian blood. While persons of other races acquire tribal membership by adoption, those of the Indian race changed their allegiance and secured all of the rights of membership in tribes other than that of their birth in the same way, and such is known to be true by those familiar with the history and customs of the Seminoles. Since the rolls of citizens do not determine the question of Indian blood, we think it permissible to do so otherwise. Hence the Dawes Rolls.
And that's they purposely left blood quantum off the black folks, knowing they would have just been full bloods or mixed with somebody else, been mixed the other way. They purposely left that off, which erased us. They want to, but even then, they want to make it seem like, and the way they did it almost makes it seem like, well, even if we let you in, it was just because you had a little bit of admixture. No, y'all got a little bit. If you even got it, y'all got a little bit of admixture. We the real thing. But this was the final nail, because during when I went and looked at a lot of the treaties prior to 1866 with each of these tribes, nobody ever even mentioned anything about their slaves. No matter, every time they secede in land and moving off somewhere and stuff, nobody said, hey, what are we going to do with these black folks? What about these slaves? What about these freed, or it wouldn't be a freedman. What about these folks? And it wasn't until after the 1866 treaty, everybody in 1866 with Albert Pike writing up the treaty paperwork with the Masons, you know what I'm saying? All of a sudden started writing this freedman paperwork nonsense in there. And so this 1904 coming in, like this, the Dawes Act is pretty much solidifying it even more so what they did back in 1866. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm gonna end with this, that this was over 100 year, because I feel like it started in the 1700s. It's just not as many records on it, but I feel like this was 100-year plan, because it's weird how in the within the first 30 years of the 1800s, you see that there's all of these different books of them telling people, to scholars and archaeologists, antiquarians, and all these other people, to go and figure out the where the Aborigines or Aboriginals of America came from, discover their origins, like where did they come from, how did they come to be here. And then once everybody, for the most part, who was honest and not racist, said the same thing of where we came from, or where they think we came from, and they admitted, hey, it's more than one type of Indians here. We think these are the Indians that was here first. Those ones came later, as far as the Siberian, the ones that was in Alaska and all that other stuff. And after they did that, it was just too many instances. That's when all of a sudden, you know what? Let's just say all the Indians no longer exist. Here comes the Indian Removal Act. We determine if you're an Indian or not. And the thing, like I said too, here it is, this book, and then I'm gonna shut up so I can listen. Where is it? This one. And I can't take credit for this. Somebody else showed this book, and I went to look it up so I can read it. In this book right here, it shows in 1790. Hold on, I got it too big. Let me make it smaller. Okay. It shows in 1790 how they made, I can't say if this is estimate or if this is fact. I'm still looking into this, but this is they're saying this is the slave population in 1790 for, I'm assuming, the whole of the Americas, where they're saying it was a total of 10,063,000 and the free people was 6 million. 1790, and you see how the Indians is 7 million, even though they tell us it was only a couple thousand Indians enslaved. Here it says it was 7 million in 1790. And then up here, when slavery supposedly ends, it says the free civilized population is up to 65 million. And then the slave population, sorry, y'all, my camera's trying to, okay. The slave population is 1860 for the United States or the South. It says the what we all know, the basically 4 million. Brazil, Cuba, woo woo, but it doesn't separate Negro from Indian anymore. They're all just clumped together. Here it's separated Negro and Indian. Oh shoot, it went down. I gotta scroll down. Here it separated Negro from Indian when it came to the slave population in 1790. But up here, when they gave the final tally for whoever was still enslaved by 1860, because we know a lot of places had already ended slavery by that point, nobody separated Negro from Indian no more. They were just all freedmen. That's what they don't get. They all got lumped into this classification of freedmen. Yet in the Native Americans don't call themselves freedmen. They don't say that they was freed from slavery. They don't have any records. They don't have nothing to show of any of their peoples being a slave. Oh, the book. Let me go to the front of the page. It's this the book.
Yeah, that's explosive. I hadn't read that or that Five Civilized Tribe document. Um, and they, yeah, that just to see it, to show the Indians and the black people separate and then to have it all lumped together, and to have so many to show. I had never seen anything in my head that I can think of. Now, like, I got a lot of documents where people were taking Indians as slaves, all over the place. I got a little folder that I was saving all that in, but like an actual number of how many Indians were actual enslaved, I had nothing like that. So that's amazing.
That's all I be saying is that all of us have collected, a lot of information to where people can just say, hey, what are y'all talking about? Where y'all getting this from? Show me. Now I do agree some of our people do be embarrassing us by saying things but not able to articulate it or not able to show the proof of it because they didn't do the research for themselves or they didn't go and study the information that someone else taught them. Like, we got to be honest on that too. Like, people got to stop being lazy, and you listen to all of these great teachers and then you don't go and study what they taught you.
Yeah, that's real. And nobody ever became an expert at their job just by going through training. You got to actually get out there and actually apply. And really, school just gives you the basics and a bunch of indoctrinated bullshit, but a lot of the basics. And that's up for us to go out there and read more books. And at least some of them encourage you to read books. Now, a lot of them be telling you, hey, just read any kind of book. You know what I'm saying? I wish they would have told me, hey, read this history book, Mr. Battle. You might like this. But, typically you just kind of out there reading stuff. So we eventually, our ancestors typically guide us back towards what we should be learning. And it's a beautiful thing once we go down that path.
I agree. I agree. But you get straight in because I do want to listen in on what you was gonna show.
Okay, so for sure. I'm gonna let CS come up for a second and say what they gonna say, and then I'm gonna jump back into the whole receipts here. Just trying to load your CS if you're still there. There you
I,
go.
I was tapping the screen.
You said what?
My fault. I was tapping the screen.
Oh, okay. No, you good. You good. Appreciate you tapping and being interacting. I'm sorry.
Yes, yes.
I'll drop you back down. I started getting into the
Thank you.
facts here. All right, yeah, man. Nah, and I appreciate it. And yeah, Fatty, stay up as much as you want. You can chime in if you want to, whatever the case. I'm gonna just jump out here. Uh, I might switch this. I might have to plug in my little phone, but other than that, we might be good. So let me see here. So yeah, amazing information, y'all. Amazing information. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all following Fadi. Um, make sure throw her gifts, all that good stuff. Make sure to share her content, watch her content, and all that good stuff. So yeah, so we gonna talk about and this is gonna kind of deal within some of that because I got one of these right here. I think it is. Let's see where they're talking about. Yeah, where they giving they you got people talking about whites, certain people with certain blood levels are getting their payout at these Indian agencies, and they're not giving it to the half bloods, but they're giving it to the full bloods and the quarter bloods, which I can't really figure out what the hell is up with that. But they also talk about somewhere in here about like that into intermingling of blood. Where is it at? One of these. Or I may not have. It's going to be in here. One of these will say it. So we're going to get to it. We're going to go down a little rabbit hole here with the agency paperwork. So these are letters that I translated, like for those who just getting in from the library. No, sorry, from the National Archive Records from Chicago area in the Indian agencies between 1824 to 1840 something. And so we use ChatGPT to translate it, not translate, but transcribe. Let me do this little thing here. Hold up. Okay, so let's look at this one. We're going to kind of pick up where we left off. It says from the recent committed hostilities. I'm sorry, from the recent hostilities committed by the Winnebago Indians near Prairie du Chien and some distance above that place, I would advise you to acquaint any person or persons who wish to travel the road Peoria to Fever River lead mines. Now, notice they're going to be talking about these lead mines. That the danger is great, in my opinion, and any person found on the road by Winnebago Indians will certainly be unalived. There is some danger in traveling the road, and in my opinion, the danger is increasing. Therefore, there is more danger by the other road, which leads immediately through the Winnebago country from Peoria to Fever River. He says the Winnebago Indians have unalived two men and a girl near Prairie du Chien the same. Indians have attacked an empty boat on its way down from St. Peter's at a place about 50 miles above Prairie du Des Chien, in which 150 men were unalive and four wounded. The boat's crew were well armed, defended themselves manfully, and unalived about 12 to 14. All of this happened recently. I hope you instruct whatever. So just think about this. This is a letter, right? So now, could they be lying in the letter? Probably not. Likely you scared. Likely when you writing this back, you like, hold on, man. Yeah, we might need a little help out here. They done unalive some folks. And apparently, you got to think about it. I thought these Indians were primitive. How did they unalive 150 well armed guys if they were so primitive? Sounds like they might have had some firepower. Now, this is the 1827, so French been around, other people been around, something, something, something. So they may have gotten those weapons through somebody, or they may have made them themselves. I don't know. They ain't really say. I'm just making a little bit of conjecture out here, but hold on, let me plug this in real quick so my battery can start to flow back in. Hold on 1 second. But yeah, so what you see here is somebody who might be a little bit nervous. We're gonna get to the next letter, but yeah, you gotta wonder, how did they unalive 150 folks and only lose 14 Indians, and those people were well armed? What were they well armed with? What was the Indians well armed with? I'm curious. But okay, let's keep going. And not only if they both were equally matched in arms, how did the Indians get better than them at them? So much better that they unalive 150 of y'all compared to 14. Like I really got a lot of questions about that, but it doesn't really give me any answers. So let's keep going. It says, still the behavior of the Western chiefs in continuing to smoke the war pipe to the nation almost at the gates of this fork and in the presence of one or more of the deputies of this place and other additional circumstances which are new even of those who have always professed the greatest friendship for us would give the slightest hint of the object of the council for several days afterwards, there is now but little to hope that they can be induced to prevent the passage of the Winnebagos or through their territories for the purposes of striking upon the whites. So at this point, he's like talking about how because he kind of skipped a part or in between because there was some letters that was just kind of fluffed in between. But long story short, talking about the Winnebagos, they're not sure if the Winnebagos can keep the Potawatomis out from getting to the whites, from striking the whites. So now you're seeing like, wait a minute. Okay, let's keep going though. It says, being the only person representing the government on this frontier, I have thought best to take the precautionary measures of engaging small parties of active scouts to range on the borders of the Winnebago country, which is only 2 days march distant, and of putting all our little population into the course from this blockade. I do not consider the danger of an attack on this settlement as an assuring but precaution as the parent is of safety. But precaution is the parent of safety. So he's basically saying, hey, look, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? It looks like they probably could be trying to attack. We might need to put some scouts around the Winnebagos area. They're still hoping that at this time the Winnebagos is going to help them. So they like, maybe the Winnebagos will help and we'll put some scouts on the outside like some little hoes. So they maybe the Winnebagos will go in first, right? And we'll come in on the outside or whatever. But he's like, but either way, he's like, they need to take precaution. And that he brings some safety. He says the attitude of the defense may be as much for our security. There is need for us that we cannot appeal to the designs Governor Cass on leaving here promised to make arrangements on his arrival at Detroit or troops immediately to notice these places called it's 1827 and these places aren't necessarily incorporated, but they're still being talked about as being Detroit and Chicago and shit like that. But okay, let's keep going. It says, reoccupy this post. The presence of 50 soldiers will secure the post and this frontier. Okay, and that makes me start wondering what is so important about a post office that you need to have, soldiers there to secure it, right? Okay, so we're going to keep going. It says, we expect their arrival in 20 days. Meanwhile, I hope that the Potawatomis of Governor Cass's loyalty, though the heart of their territory, through the heart of their territories and the delivery of General Atkinson's declarations with the troops, will by this time have convinced them that they are utterly unable to maintain the war, and that their only safety is in the mercy of the government. Permit me, sir, while on this subject, to express the hope that this post, when reoccupied, will be again abandoned until the population of this frontier is sufficiently strong to secure it from danger. So to a degree, he's like, hey, they kind of going back and forth. You're kind of worried about these people, but they time, the post may get taken, and they're waiting. They literally waiting for them to flood in some more settlers or immigrants in order for them to get their numbers up to secure the town a little bit better. He was like, we may even need to abandon the post till we can get some settlers up. And ain't that some bitch ass move right there? You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all trying to encroach on some niggas' land. And then as we about getting ready to fight y'all gonna retreat until you can get some more immigrants in here to try to help your whole ass out. That's cool, but that's what they've done for a while. We've seen that they've kind of overpopulated us through immigration, which has kind of put us in this situation. Not necessarily just through wars, but through trickery, getting inside of our government, outvoting us, because if you bring in enough enough white folks, and you start letting them be into politics because we too damn nice. Oh, we'll play fair, and now they voted our ass out. I don't know if that's how it happened, but anyway, let's keep going. Okay, permit me, sir, while on the subject, to express the hope that this post, when reoccupied, would not be again abandoned until the population on this frontier is sufficiently strong to secure it from danger. I already said that. It is certainly a positive. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm act like I can't read right now. It is certainly a position of more importance from the government has been aware of, placed in the middle of the Potawatami Nation. It would keep them quiet under all circumstances. It is a point which, when properly maintained, the Western Indians would never venture to pass, and it would, of consequence, secure the western frontier of Michigan and Indiana. Wishing to put you in possession of all information on the subject of present difficulties, I enclose a communication from the agent at Rock Island to the sub-agent at St. Peter's, copies of which were presented to me by Combe, or whatever his name is, officer of Prairie du Chien, there being no acknowledgement there at the present. Main thing to take away from that particular end of that letter is they got niggas around watching, and these niggas are colluding together and talking about what the hell is going on, right? So let's read this. It says, since my communication on this morning, I have received information from the chief on whom I think reliance can be placed, which renders the appearance of danger to this position more alarming than I supposed. When urged to accompany a scout into the Winnebago country for intelligence, he refused. And when informed that the chiefs of his nation should receive all speeches and all intelligence from the Winnebagos, and possessing at the same time great friendship for us, they should keep the thing a secret. Hold on. What they're saying is they want them to spy. So they're trying to literally, they went to the chief of the Winnebagos, I think it was, to see if they would go in. No, the chief of the Potawatomis, I assume, to see if they can go in the Winnebago country with a scout for some intelligence. And he refused, luckily so. Okay. But now I think they're gonna talk about the ramifications of their refusal here. They say, and all intelligence from the Winnebagos in possession, at the same time great friendship for us, they should keep the thing a secret and suffer the Winnebagos to come upon us entirely unprepared to receive them. He said it was wrong in them, and that he would repeat to us the amount of the speech which accompanied the club, which was this, that the Winnebagos sent to their friends, the Potawatomis, asking their help against the whites, and that they had come to the determination never to suffer themselves to be surrounded by white settlements, but would perish first, men, women, and children. So, okay, let's think about that. So he said they tried to go get the chief of the, I be getting mixed up, but of the Potawatomis, I believe, to go into the Winnebago country with a scout and to try to give a little reconnaissance. He said he wasn't going to do that, but he still gave up a little bit of information. He says that, I'll tell you what they talking about. He said they not going to deal with you white folks, basically. He said they're basically going to help stand with the Potawatomis and help against the whites. And they're going to stay here until every single one of them are unalive, down to their children. And look, That's how we done stood on our business. Now, look, if y'all ain't never thought we was standing on business before, and we talk about it now, because we be like, "Oh, those Africans are quick to flee." Yeah, I've said it many times on the live stream with an African. I would die before I would ever leave this land, and I don't know what the hell you think y'all doing running away everywhere. I guess I know why, because ain't shit over there. I know why. But we done built this up. We good. Okay. So, but they was on that same kind of time to a degree. So let's
Can
go.
I comment on that real quick? I also thought about something just
Hold on.
listening to you is even if our people did so called flee, meaning retreat, they would retreat to get reinforcements, recuperate themselves, and come back. They don't just leave and never come back. They go and gather themselves together, get more forces, get more support, and then come back ready to strike again.
Yeah, no, that's a big point, and that's basically kind of what they said on that. Yep, like basically, they even if the post gets abandoned, they just gonna wait, go back till they can get some more people to come up, and come right back. And you got to think, man, that'll tire people out after a while, especially and this is just one faction of these folks. And some of these tribes had to deal with Spaniards right after the English, right after the damn Dutch, right after the French, and then right after some other tribes. And so you can think about how much of a toll they can take on some of our folks, but we still made it through. We still made it through. Let's see here. Did I read that? Although I have no promise to them, I hope measures taken appropriate vicinity. We're gonna. Okay, hold on. I didn't read all the way through this. Hold on. Where did I stop? Adopt the resident for the Winnebago's country intelligence said quite useless. A man will be found in. Or maybe I came to a new one. Okay, yeah, I got no. It's a new one. I haven't even started this one. Okay. So on this one it says for the Winnebago country for going to the Winnebago country for intelligence, he said that was quite useless. Not a man would be found in their village. They had carried their women and children to the woods for safety and had adopted the resolution as soon as they were determined to strike as many blows as they could under the circumstances. Okay, so basically he's saying that before I get to that next sentence, basically he's saying that yeah, it's pretty much too late. They done already hit the women and children, and these niggas is ready to strike. He's like, okay. They said under these circumstances, being so immediately in their vicinity, so few in number, and a description of force in which no great reliance can be placed for courage or conduct, most of the inhabitants and Canadians engaged in the fur trade, I have thought it expedient, after consulting with the most intelligent of our people, to send in the express to the Wabash, I'm sorry, for a company of 50 mounted rangers. So they're looking for help right now. They're asking, can they get 50 rangers? It is thought that they can be brought here in 7 days, and they will render the post widely safe. Until the arrival of troops from the Bay, I have stated to them that I have no doubt the government will defray the expense of their expedition, although I have no authority to promise it to them. I hope the measures taken by me will meet your approbation. It is a moment of danger, and I am sure the government will never weigh experience against the safety of its citizens. So what they're saying is basically, hey, look, man, we need some help, and I'm gonna get these rangers out here, and I'm gonna write this. Now, this is Walcott, and Walcott is the guy that's the Indian agent that signed the treaty that's gonna eventually be coming here, and so he's like, man, we need some help. I'm gonna go get these 50 rangers. I ain't got no money to pay them. I told them y'all gonna pay them, and I hope you do. And at the end, he gonna throw a guilt trip on me, and I hope you don't spare expense on the your citizens for the safety of your citizens. Surely you ain't gonna put a price tag on it. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, ain't that some whole shit? Okay, so we'll keep going here. It says, Sir, I have the honor to transmit an extract of a letter from Dr. or not doctor, but doc. I don't know what that means, but Walcott referred to in my letter to the Secretary of War written at Utica. I have not time to add anything except the statement of my convictions that we may expect some explosion among the Indians during the ensuing season. The proposed treaty will perhaps engage their attention and divert them from other objects. And in this point of view, it is not less important than in others. So think about that. They just scared. Ain't nobody got no motherfucking fight yet. They like, nigga, can we get a treaty written up? So I mean, some treaties did come after battles. I don't know. I have to look into them. I wish I could find the actual. Look. I feel like I gotta find letters about this shit now if I really want to know the truth. To be honest with you, like what's really going on? You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna have to look into the history of this. I actually did, and they talked about battles, but they talked about battles in 1925, and apparently there was a Prairie du Chien signing of a treaty in 1925 first, before the one that happens in 1929, which we're about to approach. This is 1829 versus 1825, and we're about to approach 1829 here. So as you can see, like, they worried, and there's no battle that ensued, but they said that there was a battle before, but regardless of that, ain't no battle going on right here. They just scared. So let's keep going. Let me see here. Rereading these letters. It says, this is an extract. It says, rumors have been frequent among us during the past winter of some trouble from our friends the Winnebagos. I have paid but little attention to them, considering them as the idle surmises of idle people. But of late, finding the belief in the hostile intentions of that warlike nation universally entertained by other Indians and by many of the traders who have spent the winter in Indian country, and having received notifications and warnings in various ways from numbers of many of my Indians who are particularly friendly to me, I have not been able to resist the conviction that the execution of the chiefs, I was like, something about to get good here pretty soon. Okay, let me read. I'm gonna go back just a second. Let's see what it says. It says, in various ways from numbers of my Indians who are particularly friendly with me, the Indian agent, Mr. Walcott, okay, I have not been able to resist the conviction that the execution of the chiefs who are in confinement at the prairie will be the signal of war. Such is the tenor of the speeches lately sent by the Winnebagos to the Old Crow and the Bigfoot, who with their bands are, I believe, as much Winnebagos as the Indians. So here we have something you got to think about. How did y'all get the chiefs in custody and in confinement? And why are you thinking about offing them? Why would the Indian agents who later become the BIA, you know what I'm saying? Why would they be wanting to off the? Why would they be wanting to off some chiefs? Yeah, that one I gotta make sure I favorite that one. You know what I mean? That one I need to make more videos or make a video about, and really try to look a little bit more into that. But let's go to the next letter with they corrupt asses. All right. Of both learning themselves, they add that a secure retreat is offered to them by their friends the Sioux, and they shall force to work to withstand the American power. Impressed with the belief that their intentions are hostile and that hostility can be prevented. And hold on, man, you got to think about this too. You was just in the last letter, and there's time that let's see how much time elapsed between. So this letter, is about the execution. That's in March 25th of 1828. They was talking about a possible treaty in May 6, 1828. So it looks like one came before the other. Okay, that's May 6, 1828. So they talked about the treaty after they done already had some goddamn Indian chiefs in custody, thinking about offering them. Ain't that a bitch? Yeah, yeah. And then they talking about it's getting a little hot. Some explosive may happen. Yeah, nigga, you got chiefs in confinement, and I don't even know what happened with them. To be honest, I'm gonna have to look a bit further because y'all got so much of an elapse within the letters. But okay, yeah, yeah, we're gonna put this story together. These niggas is corrupt. Okay, this is your Indian agents, your Indian agents. That's crazy. Okay, let's go back here. It says, impressed with the belief that their intentions are hostile and that hostility can be prevented from manifesting itself in acts of open warfare only by the presence of the military force at the post or the commanding points on their frontier. I have written to the Secretary of War urging the necessity of immediately garrisoning this post with a respectable force. It is not necessary to say anything about the military importance of this point to you, who know so well the situation of this part of the country and of the Indians who inhabit it. I know it has, I'm sorry, always been your opinion that the garrison should not have been removed and that you have advised its reestablishment. Should it not be reestablished, this settlement in the event of war must be abandoned. The execution of the chiefs will most probably increase very much the difficulties of negotiating with them. And even if it not be followed, uh, something hostilities will render traveling through whatever, but we're gonna get to it. So here we go. They still talking about this execution of these possible chiefs and the ramifications that could come from it, obviously. So, and the thing is too, he's writing to the Secretary of War, trying to get some troops. And now, how you gonna capture some chiefs? Talk about unaliving them, but then be sitting here talking about, please come back us up. How did y'all even get these chiefs in confinement in the first place? So I mean, I got several questions about this, man. But these are real fucking letters. Okay, let's keep going. It says through their hazardous country. So this is a continuance of the last one. It says, should government determined to send troops to this place, it is to be hoped that the movement will be made with as little delay as possible. And should General Brady have a discretionary power to act in the matter, I hope your advice and the influence will be used in urging him to send them on. For the reestablishment of this post would show at once to the Winnebagos that we are aware of their designs and ready to measure strength with them. And by destroying their hopes of taking us by surprise would not unlikely be actually the means of preventing a what the hell recommencement. I don't even know what recommencement means of hostility. Oh, okay. A recommencement to a recommencement to a recommencement of hostilities. I feel stupid. If it would no, it would at any rate show to those Potawatomis who have smoked the war pipe with the Winnebagos the peril in which they have placed themselves and how little they have to hope for joining their arms to those of our enemies. Basically, they wanted to use an intimidation tactics. They like, look, man, if you can please send me some troops, and if you please don't delay in sending those troops, because we need them fast, because we can't defend ourselves. We some scared little bitches. And if you can get them here pretty quick, we can put them around the outside, and that's gonna kind of intimidate the folks. They'll start fucking with us, whatever. To show them we got power, like they got power. even though we took their chiefs and got them in confinement and talking about offing them. Uh, let's see. It says in my last communication, this is in January 19th, 1828. So let me just double check. So we're going backwards, I think. This was March, and the other one was May. So it looks like we're going backwards. Blamed it on the way they had it in their system. Okay, it says during the past winter, I received repeated intimations that our restless neighbors, the Winnebagos, were planning a renewal of hostilities. Again, we're reading going backwards, and on a scale much more extensive than that of last year. To such reports, I paid but little attention, believing that the amount of force sent among them last summer and the celerity of which they the celerity with which it is concentrated in the heart of their country must have convinced them of their hopelessness of any future appeal to arms. But of late, I have received so many warnings from the Indians who are coming in daily from their hunting grounds and from traders who have passed the winter among them of their hostilities and their hostile intentions and of their plans to carry those intentions into effect that no doubt is left on my mind of their present determination to try the chance of war. So here we are, going back that these folks are scared. You know what I'm saying? They're worried. They said the people are coming through the country, the white folks and the Indians, or fur traders and the Indians, and everybody's telling them about this war, these hostilities that are coming up. And eventually they get to a treaty, but I really do wonder if they had a battle in between. Or maybe that treaty was to try to get them through. Peace, Liberian Empress. Peace, everybody. This came in that I hadn't looked down. Y'all know I'll be reading and going. But looking down here, it's a lot of stories. Yeah, it is. All right, y'all. So let's kind of get through some more of these, a few more of these. I don't think I got too many more. Well, I got some more, but we'll get through these. It says, of their chiefs, uh, and urged by the Sioux. Wait a minute, we already read that one, I think. Garrison, yeah, we already read that one. I already read that one. Join them in the mix-up in their name. Rocket Indians, rock along. I think we read that one. Hold up. No, we was on January. That's March. Man, I must have got off somewhere. Hold up, y'all. January. Let me just make sure this was the last one. Should the government send troops? Okay, yeah, here we go. Here we go. So it says, in my last communication from Mount Pleasant Country of Wabash and state of Virginia, I advised you that I would set out for Chicago as soon as possible. Circumstances unforeseen by me did, however, continue to prevent my. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Let me do this. There we go. Circumstances however, whatever. On that day, I made a move with my family and arrived here on the 11th day of December. I told Mr. McKee that I had fixed on the 10th day of December, cold, whatever. You know what? I'm going to go past this one because I remember this one. They basically just talk about it got hella cold and they didn't want to they couldn't do too much work. Wounded themselves, this and that and the third. During the past one, I received repeated 100 grams, whatever, kind of similar, I believe so, to relieve the occasion of the president of the country, excited on, okay. We always get to something good. Okay, for the chiefs, of their chiefs, and urged by the Sioux, hold up. Okay. Of their chiefs and urged by the Sioux who have promised them a secure retreat in their country should they be unable to maintain themselves in their own. It is not to be considered as if they reckless and uncalculating and as they known to be, should listen to the suggestions of revenge rather than of a reason. Impressed as I am with the conviction that their feelings and intentions are entirely hostile, and that they can be restrained from the commission of the acts of open hostility only be the presence of the strong military force on their frontier. I cannot consistently with my idea of duty refrain from notifying sir of the situation of affairs and of suggesting indeed or of urging the propriety and necessity of reestablishing the post and for garrisoning it with a respectable force. The post has been considered by all intelligent men with whom I have conversed on this subject as one of the most governing points on the borders of all calculated, when properly maintained, to protect a greater extent of the frontier and to keep in check a greater number of Indians. Now I'm gonna stop right there. That was a lot, but so what are they saying right there? Basically, that post is important. They're still worried about the hostilities. My bad, mouth getting dry. They're still worried about the hostilities, but here they're talking about keeping the Indians in check. Think about that. They said open up, so that way we can keep this post open, so we can keep the Indians in check. Now, do these posts become the eventual Indian agency posts or Indian agencies that are over these Indians eventually? Eventually, of course, they do. You know, this becomes the BIA, the Bureau of Indian Affairs. But let's keep going. It says the post has always been considered by the intelligent men to whom converse on the subject as being one of the most governing ports on the border that's calculated when properly maintained to protect a greater extent of the frontier and keep in check a greater number of Indians than almost any other. It will also secure the fidelity of the Potawatamis and prove an effectual barrier to the incursions of the Winnebagos should hostilities commence, and this post be left ungarrisoned. This settlement must necessarily be abandoned. It is but 80 miles distance from the rock along the. It's just talking about where it's at, but okay. Basically, they just talking about even more so like little men. They worried about it. They trying to get this post secured. It says ammunition, guns, doubtless of the objects, 2 companies of the infantry, in addition to the citizens now here, will be sufficient. And so right here, okay, look, it says it will doubtless be the first object of their attention. 2 companies of infantry, in addition to the citizens now here, will be sufficient to secure this frontier from the Winnebagos and overall any individuals among the Potawatomis who may be disposed to join them or to do mischief in their name. So here you got like what it said earlier, if they can bring in some more people to go ahead and be against the Indians, then they'll do that. And here, not only did they bring in troops, but they also brought in more citizens or immigrants to fight the fight. Mischief in the name, and that was also by Mr. Walcott. Mr. Walcott, for those who are just stepping in, he's one of the Indian agents who signed this particular treaty that we're talking about between these folks. I just did that one. So we'll go to another letter here. It says, I have the honor to transmit an extract of a letter from Wilcott, referred to in my letter to the Secretary of War, written in Utica. Oh, wait a minute, we already read that one. Hold on, my bad, y'all. I lost my damn spot. Due to the past winter, we received it repeated. Went through that. And, okay, that's the last one. Okay. In reading this report made by yourself and General Clark to Congress last winter on Indian affairs, I observed that you have designed the Indians of the Fox River of the Illinois to the sub-agency of Peoria. There are about 1,000 Indians over the Fox River. They have always been considered as belonging to this agency and always so considered themselves. They have always received their presents and drawn their annuities here. So they said these Indians, who I believe this is 1829. I believe this is after the 1825 treaty. They would go to an Indian agency in order to get their annuities, their money. That's why I say this. So when a treaty goes down, and I didn't know that. I just knew that they would get paid. I didn't think about the process of how they might get paid. But when a treaty is signed and you lease land to the government or whatever the case may be, or in that treaty it says you're supposed to get a certain amount of money from the government every month or whatever, it looks like it's the Indian agencies that the Indians would go to at that time in order to get that money. And that makes sense because the agent would be in direct contact with the government who would be paying said funds, right? But you got to think these Indian agents are also corrupt because they were also sitting here with chiefs and they could possession talking about offing these chiefs, planning, trying to get one of these other chiefs to be a spy for them in another country with another Indian tribe. So you got to think about the trickery that's going on and all kind of shit, man. Oh, excuse me, I had to stretch myself. So yeah, you got to think about all that, man. And let me save that one too. If you're reading this report about Indian affairs, did I already finish it? Oh, they're new this year. Okay. The most distant of them are not more than 60 miles from this place. They are the Indians who most constantly resort to this agency and are most completely dependent upon it. And to detach them from it, could it be readily done, would be little less than to dismember the agency. So what they're saying is these Indians, the rural Indians that live about 60 miles from their particular post, they rely on government assistance. That's basically what they're saying. Now, that's the government assistance that's supposed to be paid to them because whatever happened, they either ceded the land or whatever, leased it out to them, whatever the case may be. But they got to, they're supposed to get their pay, and I ain't mad at them. Shit, now they sitting here talking about some. Now you dependent upon it. Well, yeah, that's what you say you was gonna give me. Don't play with me now. It says right here, okay. The result of such an arrangement would be that the allowance of this agency, already too small, would be lessened, while its burden continued the same, and the allowance of the sub-agency at Peoria would be increased, while it remained what it has in fact been for a long time, a mere matter. For these reasons, I take the liberty of protesting against the arrangement as opposed to the interests of the United States and to the wishes of the interests of the Indians. He's kind of trying to sound like he's trying to fight his position for something. I forgot what the hell it was, but he's trying to fight for his position. It says, "Sir, Honorable Eaton, Secretary at War." It says, "I have the honor to transmit to you the enclosed copy of a letter addressed to me by Governor McNeil and Judge Strader, authorizing and directing me to cause to be purchased $12,000 worth of goods to be delivered to the Indians of this agency on October next, according to the stipulations of the treaty made with them at Pierre du Chien." So notice this letter, y'all. So this letter is what it said there. This letter says something about that money in there. It's with authorizing and directing the cause to be purchase of $12,000. My bad, y'all can't see that. Cause to be purchased $12,000 worth of goods. Now, why am I harping on that? 1829. They said Prairie du Chien. Well, when you look up the article, when you look up the treaty, it says, where is it at? $12,000 worth of goods. They were supposed to get $12,000 worth of goods on top of getting $16,000 a year annually. But during the summer month next, $12,000 worth of goods as a present, and is the further agreed to deliver the blah 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 inserts or whatever. So they was going to get $12,000 worth of goods as a present, plus get the $16,000 a year to do whatever. So I wanted to just show you that because here we have it. Just kind of helps to show that what we're reading is not just like far off. We're literally reading this nigga. He's got to fulfill this whole thing. Like, man, let me get this 12 right here. It says authorizing and directing me to cause to be purchased $12,000 worth of goods to be delivered to the Indians of this agency in October next, according to the stipulation of the Treaty of Prairie du Chien. I also enclose a copy of letter addressed to me by B.B. Kirchville Esquire, whatever, of Detroit, authorizing him to purchase the goods. The goods will arrive without doubt by the time stipulated, and from my knowledge of Mr. whatever his name is, long acquaintance with mercantile affairs and with the Indian goods in particular, I am sure they will be quality suitable of them. Suitable of them, and it kind of starts there. But yeah, so this is the treaty itself, and hard to read, but it does have the transcription. And when you look at Article 2, it does talk about them getting money, them getting the $12,000 plus the $16,000 annually. Now let's see what else this gets us into real quick. It says by the Treaty of 29th Alt, between the United States and the United Nations of Chippewa, Ottawa, and Potawatami Indians, it is stipulated that the United States shall cause to be delivered to said Indians in the month of October next $12,000 in goods as a present, and by a letter directed to me bearing date at Pierre du Chien, August 6, 1829, by the commissioners who negotiated to the above mentioned treaty. I am instructed to purchase or cause to be purchased the said goods according to the stipulations of said treaty. I hereby in full fulfillment of the duty imposed on me by the above mentioned letter authorize you to purchase $12,000. That's a whole lot. That's a whole lot. I need to get a little drink of water. Good God. It wasn't a whole lot, but I definitely read more than that. But I don't know. That was kind of difficult to get through. But, okay, so what I want you to think about with this is above and purchase according to stipulation of the treaty. I hereby fulfillment of duty. But mention 12,000. You got the $12,000 thing. There was something else I was gonna say in here. Delighted to be delivered, said the Indians, present day, letter directed to me, Pierre de Chien, the commission who negotiated above mentioned treaties. I have instructed purchase and purchase. I can't remember. I was gonna say something. First, that you will deliver the goods to me at Chicago as early as practicable in the next October 1st. Let's go to the next. Then it says the third, there's the first that says, as rear maybe memorandum accompanies to the letter. That was kind of cut off, but it says on the third one, it says that when the goods are received by me, you shall receive in payment thereof a draft drawn by me as an Indian agent of the Secretary of War in your favor to be paid when an appropriation shall have been made by Congress for that purpose. For your satisfaction, I enclose a copy of the letter of the instructions of the commission by which I am authorized to cause the goods to be purchased. So you got Albert Walcott's basically just trying to hold them out, like, nigga, these goods are coming. It says amount of $12,000 purchased. So I think I did this because that's $12,000, just to show that was in the treaty just as well. Because people will be like, man, these people, they didn't live up to these treaties. But if you got this 12,000 and y'all getting 16,000 annually every year, somebody's keeping up with something. It says amount of it says, and that they should will be suitable for the Indians and will fulfill in good faith the stipulations of the treaty in that respect and will satisfy the Indians. And when you make the purchase, you are authorized hereby to draw for $12,000 on the Secretary of War to be paid when an appropriation shall be made by Congress to pay the said stipulation for said $12,000 in goods. So you got the War Department approving this $12,000 in this treaty. It says, and you will immediately communicate to the Secretary of War what we have authorized you to do for the purchase of these goods and what you can do. And also, please communicate to us direct to care of Secretary of War what you shall do under this letter. Damn, it's 12:13. I didn't know that. I'm probably putting some of y'all to sleep with this little audio book. I'm just playing. It says, we are the liberty to write on our honor our king through. Let me see if this is in the rest. The article to say come says this we thought not suitable for reason we inquired of the principal chiefs, and he said, of course you may draw. Oh, okay. No, this is important. Okay, yeah, this is actually important. So we take the liberty to write to your honor, knowing that thou art the most acquainted with the nature of the business on which we intend to speak at this time. Sir, the thing is easy and plain. We went to the payment as usual at Chicago, just around the lakes, and we found much differing from that of the previous one. A few of the half-breeds, though they did not vote nor pay taxes, did not receive their part of the annuity paid to the Indians. They said even those that were quarter Indians received their portion, because they were classed like the Indians. So just think about that. First of all, I'm a little confused with how they're jumping around with it. Second of all, 1827, they're already talking about classes of Indians, who's a certain Indian class. And I can believe that. They were really getting into how they were going to do this, because it's by 1860 when they fully write it into legislation and treaties and stuff like that. So this is just about 30 years prior, and they were still kind of on that same wave. It says, even though blah, 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 because they class let's see, some of the Aboriginal paying their taxes did not receive part of the annuity to be paid to the Indians. Even those that were quarter Indians received their portion because they were classed like the Indians. The agents said to come of us, if we did not vote nor pay the taxes, we should draw like the rest. But after we got there, he observed we were not entitled to draw because we were ourselves as the whites. This Indian agent says, so think about this. You have an Indian agent here who's trying to draw money for the Indians at an Indian agency. And he's cosplaying to be an Indian, and he says they pretty much white. Okay, let's keep going. They said this we thought was not suitable reasons. We inquired of the principal chiefs, And he said that, of course, you may draw from the Indians as much as others, as ourselves. And also, we had the voices of the most of our chiefs. But all of this could not persuade the agent to give us our portion. But this day we were entitled the next to give us what we had back, so that was a double portion next year. So, anyways, man, this is it's all over. It's not all over the place, but these people are cosplaying in a sense. It sounds like in order to pull money from the fucking system, and I don't know. It just looks like they're trying to game the system. And they talked about different breeds. They said the half breeds didn't get the bread payout, but the fourth breeds did. And I'm still, that's like a conundrum to me. I'm like, so I mean, did you have like 6 tuplets, 2 sets of? They said it was 2 sets of 3 twins, or something like that. I can't remember how they, or something. I don't know. I'm all over the place. I'm all over the place, man. Look, I ain't even gonna lie. I'm tired. I ain't even gonna lie. I've been looking at the screen. I've been like, okay, man. I can feel it in my head right now. I'm like, oh, I'm a little tired, y'all. I wanted to get through this whole little rest of it. I only had like 3 or 4 more. But I ain't even gonna lie. I be done fell asleep on y'all ass. I was into it. Definitely into it because it's a lot going on, especially on that last part. Because you do have it where they're talking about people marrying in, and actually at one point, let me just see if I can get to it. The agent said to some of us, if we did not vote, pay tax or whatever, we draw for the same. Hold on, I want to show y'all this part. I think it's right here. Yeah, this part. I at least want to read through this real quick. It says should draw for the rest of the same, but after we got there and observed were not entitled to draw because we were ourselves as whites. We thought was not suitable reasons. Oh, we already read through that. Until we get our portions back from next year. It says, for we heard that General Tipton gave to the like half breeds as the full breeds, and we should say nothing if they would give all the half breeds. I'm sorry, as whites only. I'm still kind of confused like this, and I'm trying to see what they mean by that, or if it's just maybe I need to read the letter and see how it maybe it's misdone. But it says, and we should say nothing if they would give all the half bloods as whites only, which is weird to me, but okay. For then we should have more than half of the chiefs on our side. For your excellency well knows the intermingling blood is powerful. Nearly one half of the Potawatami tribes is part blood. That's what they're saying. Don't know if that's true. Then, according to the agents of Chicago, I must lose my right because I follow his mode of acting. This is very wrong, as well as for trying to place us in the condition of whites, and yet to my own commands have a high something. For, okay, who was saying this one? Secretary of War John Eaton. Oh, Mr. Eaton. Okay. It's either Eaton or the Doyle guy. Okay. One of them two. But they're trying to be Indians. They're like, we got Indian blood. They're trying to say half the Potawatomis at this time was Indians. I mean, was intermingled. But they always say that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? They just kind of blanket shit, whatever. I could tell I was tired, man. I was like, why am I reading so slow or reading so off or whatever? But I could tell I'm tired, y'all. So I'm about to get off here, catch me some Z's in or whatever. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I enjoyed y'all being up in here, man. Let me just give my little, yeah. I'm looking, yeah, man. I appreciate all of y'all, man. Yeah, man. Enjoy y'all night. And, yeah, holla back at y'all.